Here we have a historic Civil War-era shotgun with incredible provenance. This gun is a high-quality Mortimer shotgun, captured just days before the war's end at Appomattox. The guest's great-great-grandfather, Charles Porter Mattox, fought with the 17th Maine and later transferred to the elite Burden sharpshooters in 1864. He was captured during the Battle of the Wilderness, but returned in time for one of the last major engagements at Sailor's Creek. There, Custer's cavalry captured over 300 Confederate wagons, and Mattox led a charge that secured 2 battle flags and these wagons.
And among the wagons' contents were items that belonged to Confederate General James Longstreet.
Longstreet was once Lee's most trusted general, but later became a controversial figure for supporting the Republican Party and working for the U.S. government. This shotgun was made by the Mortimer family, renowned London-based gunsmiths with offices in Edinburgh. Based on the Edinburgh address on its label, this piece dates between 1840 and 1854, making it a fine example of pre-Civil War craftsmanship. The Mortimer gunsmithing legacy began with Samuel Morter in the late 1700s, producing high-grade firearms for British nobility. One of the company's biggest challenges was competing with the rising demand for industrially produced weapons in the 19th century. Despite this, Mortimer guns remained highly sought after by collectors due to their exquisite engraving and superior craftsmanship. This particular shotgun features intricate banknote scroll engravings on the locks, tang, and butt plate, showcasing its elite status.
Tang and the butt plate, it's a high-grade gun. Sometimes talking about the Civil War, its causes, and material that's related to the Southern Confederacy.
In recent years, guns with strong provenance have shattered auction expectations, with some fetching millions. This piece, tied to such a dramatic chapter of history, could be worth far beyond its base valuation.
We think that very legitimately, an auction estimate of $50,000 to $100,000 is conservative. I wouldn't be surprised if in the right setting, because of the provenance, it approached 7 figures.
Today we have a Colt factory-engraved single-action revolver with Old West ties, once owned by a sheriff and police chief in Crawford, Nebraska. The guest's great-grandfather served as the town's first police chief around 1885, a role documented in an old photograph featuring him in uniform with his badge. Alongside this, another photo from the same studio shows him with his family, reinforcing his legacy. His grandson, the guest's grandfather, shared dramatic tales of law enforcement in the Wild West. This revolver, featuring a 5.5-inch barrel, retains much of its original blue finish, a mark of its careful use over time.
When we see engraved guns, we like to see all the finish. For an historical weapon, we like to see use.
The engravings are believed to be the work of Helfricht, a renowned Colt engraver from the late 19th century, adding immense historical value. Colt manufacturing was founded in 1855 by Samuel Colt, revolutionizing firearms with the mass production of revolvers. The company faced financial struggles post-Civil War, but revived through military contracts and innovative designs like the single-action army. Hartley & Graham, the gun's original retailer, was a dominant firearms distributor in New York, supplying weapons to lawmen and outlaws alike. This particular Colt was shipped to Hartley & Graham in 1885, and the retailer likely replaced the grips before selling it. The current custom pearl grips feature the sheriff's initials on one side and a detailed steerhead on the other. Although there is some damage to the grips, the gun's historical significance, along with its factory letter, makes it exceptionally valuable. The guest originally estimated its worth at a few $100s, vastly underestimating its true value.
Well, we could sell it in our gallery for $25,000.
You're kidding.
No, serious.
That's hard to believe.
It's a great thing.
That's awesome.
Here we have a fascinating Civil War-era firearm, a rare sharp slanting breech naval rifle manufactured in 1856. The guest had always been uncertain about this rifle's origins.
An antique dealer that was a friend of the family, and I used to cut his lawn for him. And I said to him, what have I got here? And he said, well, I'm not quite sure. It doesn't seem to be what the rest of them are. And I kind of thought, oh, all right.
Sharps rifles were produced by Christian Sharps in Hartford, Connecticut.
In Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay.
They made over 100,000 Sharps carbines, but this one is a special one.
Only 263 of these slanting breech naval rifles were ever produced, making it a standout among Civil War firearms. The rifle is a .54 caliber weapon with a distinctive design, including an attachment point for a massive saber bayonet. This bayonet could be used as both a close combat weapon and an attachment. Christian Sharps revolutionized firearm manufacturing with his breech loading design, which significantly increased the speed and accuracy of shooters. His innovations led to the widespread use of Sharps rifles by both Union forces and later buffalo hunters in the American West. The company faced financial struggles after the war, eventually closing in the 1880s despite the rifle's lasting legacy. Another remarkable feature of this rifle is the small door near the hammer. This door was part of a specialized firing system developed by Edward Maynard, using a cap roll mechanism to streamline loading. The rifle also bears a tiny naval anchor on the barrel, confirming its military use within the US Navy. Despite its age, the rifle remains in pristine original condition, with a deep patina that adds to its authenticity.
If you're going to insure it, I would say that we would need to insure it for at least $7,500.
All right. Well, I guess I better get on that right away.
Next, we have an extraordinary piece of Civil War history, a Sharps & Hankins rifle with a truly remarkable serial number. The Guest rifle is not just any Sharps & Hankins model, it bears the serial number 1, making it the very first of its kind. Sharps & Hankins was formed in 1862, producing around 8,000 of these rifles.
This was one of their primary models. They made 8,000 of these guns, but this is the first one. You can only have one, number 1. That's right. And it's sitting on this table.
This particular model is a .52 caliber with a longer than usual 32.75-inch barrel.
That barrel's too long. They cut it down for the regular productions. The Navy model had a 24-inch barrel, and the Cavalry model had a 19-inch barrel.
One of its defining features is the sliding barrel loading system, designed to make reloading easier than traditional Sharps rifles. Christian Sharps, founder of Sharps Rifles, revolutionized firearm design with his breech loading mechanism, improving accuracy and speed. Sharps & Hankins rifles were known for their innovative sliding barrel system, though it proved less effective for cavalry use. The company eventually shifted back to Sharps' original drop block mechanism, which remained a staple in firearm design for decades. This rifle also features one of the first functional safety mechanisms, a small lever preventing the hammer from striking the firing pin. Most surviving models are missing this safety mechanism due to a tiny screw coming loose. Though the rifle has developed a thick patina from years of use, it remains in excellent historical condition. The Guest received it as a wedding gift from his father, making it an even more meaningful family heirloom. With its unique serial number and historical significance,
I feel that the gun today would retail for about $10,000. And to me, it's more historically significant than that, but that's where it would bring in today's market.
Our guest took a gamble on a collection of items, purchasing them for $3,500. The main attraction was a Winchester Model 1873 rifle, which immediately caught the guest's attention. At first glance, the rifle appeared to be an Indian-used firearm, featuring rawhide repairs.
For repairs, and they put some tacks in them, and this is a little medicine wheel.
However, the appraiser quickly revealed that these embellishments were all fake, and the rifle itself was fairly common. In its current condition, the Winchester was valued between $600 and $800, far less than the purchase price. Among the other items was a small knife scabbard made by Lakota, 3 pairs of moccasins, and an Iroquois pouch.
To sell to the tourists, you've got 3 pairs of late moccasins that are probably also made for the tourist market.
Okay.
Winchester was founded by Oliver Winchester in 1866, revolutionizing firearms with the first successful repeating rifle. The Winchester Model 1873 became known as the gun that won the West, prized for its durability and rapid-fire capability. Plains Indian beadwork, like the Guest's pouch, was highly valued for its craftsmanship, often reflecting cultural identity and trade influence. These additional items, while authentic, were primarily made for the tourist market.
The 3 pair of mocks would probably bring about $150 to $200, and the Iroquois pouch would probably bring about $150 to $200. These are auction values.
But the highlight of the collection turned out to be an unassuming mid-19th century pony-beaded Plains Indian pouch. The appraiser was stunned, noting that they had only seen one other piece of pony beadwork in 12 years on the show. The pouch featured rare pumpkin-colored beads and an early floral design, making it an exceptionally scarce find.
But that particular bag on today's market would probably be worth about $8,000 to $12,000.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh my God.
So you ended up doing pretty good.
The Guest stumbled upon a hidden treasure while renovating a historic home in Essex. Initially mistaking it for an old purse, they soon discovered.
And then when we turn it this way, this side reveals a pistol.
One side functioned as a change purse, but pressing a button on the other side revealed a hidden gun barrel. The pistol used a pin-fire system, where a hammer struck a pin at the cartridge base to fire a projectile. It was designed for self-defense, allowing the owner to appear as if they were fumbling for money while actually preparing to shoot. The guest found the pistol tucked away in a compartment behind a fireplace in a circa 1800 home. The pistol was designed by Oskar Frankenauer of Nuremberg, Germany, who patented it in the US in 1877. Concealed firearms like this were popular in the 19th century, but they remained scarce due to limited production. Nuremberg was a major firearms hub in the 19th century, known for producing innovative and high-quality weapons. Despite being an uncommon design, the appraiser confirmed its authenticity.
I think that if this was to appear at auction, it would bring somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000.
Excellent.
So that's just as good as finding money, right?
You're better.
The guest had hoped to find old money inside, but this discovery turned out to be even more valuable. With its historical significance and rarity, this concealed pistol is a fascinating glimpse into 19th century self-defense. At last, this remarkable discovery was unearthed in Boulder, Colorado by the guest's wife's uncle while digging in his garden. The artifact is a Spanish colonial swivel gun, dating back to the late 17th or early 18th century. Swivel guns were small cannons designed for mounting on boats. The Spanish often navigated the Great Plains rivers in keelboats, sometimes carrying them overland when necessary. It's likely that this cannon was abandoned due to excessive weight during one of these overland crossings. The appraiser identified it as a rare find, having never encountered one in his career. Swivel guns were essential for defending against attacks and signaling during Spanish expeditions in the Americas. Spanish colonial forces relied on lightweight, portable artillery like this to adapt to rugged and unpredictable terrain. Spain's exploration of the Great Plains was part of a broader effort to expand and control North American trade routes.
At auction, I would conservatively put an estimate of $8,000 to $12,000 on it.
Two cherished books, titled Little Women, originally published in the late 19th century, were passed down through a family. These 1868 and 1869 first editions were gifts from the guest's grandfather to his wife, a writer named Jo.
My grandpa gave it to my grandma for Christmas. Her name was Jo, and she was also a writer, like in the book.
Right, like in the book, Little Women.
Complete with its original cloth binding, the 1869 edition is the first state of Little Women. Despite their historical significance, the book displays signs of wear. Particularly valuable, the first part has a tear on its spine and shows fading. Each book includes a delicate tissue sheet positioned before the first illustration. This protective layer prevents the print from transferring onto the title page, preserving the book's pristine condition. In the current market, this set could fetch between
The value of this set, for auction purposes, I would put at $3,000 to $5,000.
Nestled in a cigar box, hidden behind a stack of sweaters in a closet, a collection of 1948 Leaf baseball cards was discovered. Produced shortly after World War II, this set stands out for its inclusion of numerous rookie cards from that era. Impeccably preserved and displaying vibrant colors, the cards in question showcase an array of baseball legends.
He obviously kept his cards nice.
Yeah, he loved sports and he was a tidy person in that way, everything in order, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it shows.
Among them, notable figures include Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Stan Musial, and Babe Ruth. These cards, once cherished by a young collector passionate about sports, offer a fascinating glimpse into post-war baseball. Highly coveted for their historical significance, the collection's standout pieces include 3 Jackie Robinson rookie cards. It reflects the enduring allure and significance of these well-preserved artifacts from baseball's golden age. An insurance value of the entire set is estimated to be around.
I would put an insurance estimate on just these 1948 Leaf cards, the whole collection here, of $150,000.
An artist who began by doodling and daydreaming in 3rd grade found his passion turning into a lifelong career. This creative journey resulted in over 130 books, with nearly 80 featuring the beloved character, Arthur. The artist's studio now holds thousands of original pieces, ranging from early sketches to finished illustrations. This collection showcases the creative process through smaller works like graphite drawings and working examples.
So I shouldn't throw those away.
Oh my gosh, no, and you should sign them.
Sometimes I do.
No.
More significant pieces, especially those connected to iconic moments in the Arthur series, could fetch more. Like an elaborate watercolor from Arthur's Christmas, the most valuable works have sold for up to $7,800 at auction. Some pieces could potentially be worth even more. Overall, the collection's value is estimated to range from.
So we're working on a scale of maybe $500 to $10,000, but it's very fluid.
Yeah, I understand.
A collection of early aviation photos gathered by a Wright Brothers newspaper deliveryman. This collection offers a unique glimpse into the dawn of flight. The 40-image collection reflects the man's aviation passion from his time with the Wright brothers in Dayton. One significant photograph captures Louis Blériot's historic landing after the first successful English Channel flight. One photograph shows the dramatic crash of Blériot's fragile plane.
It was transferred from the landing strip to Selfridge's department store in London, where it remained on display for a number of years.
Another features the Wright brothers aircraft alongside a similar model. These photographs, stamped by a French picture agency, hold considerable value. This entire collection is estimated to be worth between.
These were brought to auction. In its entirety, the 40 or so pictures that you have, the estimate would be between $7,000 and $10,000.
Wow.
Brought in for appraisal was a vintage Gibson A2 mandolin from 1923, which had been bought from a garage sale in Pennsylvania. The 1923 Gibson A2 mandolin is distinguished by its many evolutionary enhancements.
He went ahead and purchased it for $35 at this garage sale in Pennsylvania. He's held on to it for years. It's always been something fun to look at.
Featuring an adjustable bridge, the instrument offers precise tuning and enhanced playability. To maintain its functionality in modern use, the peghead features an adjustable truss rod and a plastic plate. A keen collector known for spotting undervalued items acquired the mandolin, distinguished by its Gibson name. Manufactured in Kalamazoo, Michigan, this mandolin dates back to the highly regarded Loire era of Gibson's production. Considered one of the most desirable instruments by players, this one is especially sought after in Irish and folk music circles. Reflecting its status, its value today is estimated at around.
This would have a value somewhere in the $3,000 to $3,500 range.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
A collection of Indian artifacts was purchased from an ad in the Quirk Quarter newspaper. It included a diverse set of items, such as pipes, gorgets, and a distinctive statue. In an attempt to trace the origins of the statue, research linked it to similar artifacts from the Coosa River area in Georgia.
What we do is we look at it stylistically, that is the eye shape, the nose, the ears, the various elements.
With its unusual depiction of human-shaped ears, the statue was initially thought to be a genuine piece. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that it was a cast reproduction, evident from air holes found in the piece. Authentic artifacts of this nature, if genuine, could command hundreds of thousands of dollars. Moreover, genuine pieces would face legal scrutiny due to regulations on artifacts from state or federal lands. Despite its reproduction status, the statue retains value as a decorative item, estimated between.
As a decorative piece, it's still $300 to $500.
Okay.
So it's a nice, decorative, interesting piece.
A sterling silver urn and tray, crafted in Edinburgh and hallmarked in 1812, have been treasured family heirlooms for generations. These pieces were a gift to the guest's ancestor, the chairman of the Royal Bank of Scotland, during a financial crisis. Valued at £200 in 1812, a significant sum, the silver set was presented by the bank's board. First inherited and evaluated around 1980, the set had an appraisal value of $15,000. This value was influenced by the 1980 silver market's temporary inflation due to the Hunt brothers' actions.
Well, that market, 1980, if we look at that year specifically, the Hunt brothers notoriously cornered the silver market.
Despite the market fluctuations, the silver and cut glass's exceptional quality boosts its value. Though not originally paired, the tray and urn are linked by family history and the guest's ancestor, Robert Wilde's memoir. In today's market, the set would likely fetch between.
I would expect them to sell together in the range of about $12,000 to $18,000.
A trophy was presented by professional golfer Dottie Pepper. Born in Saratoga, New York, Dottie fell in love with golf at the age of 7. She turned pro and participated in many important tours and major championships. In 1990, Dottie played in the inaugural Solheim Cup and received a mini Solheim Cup trophy.
So this is the inaugural. There were 8 women on each team, 1 captain from Europe, 1 from the United States, and they made a Solheim Cup.
The appraiser highlighted the trophy's uniqueness, noting that only 18 mini trophies were made, and the mold was destroyed afterward. It was mentioned that no Solheim Cup trophies had been sold at auction before, emphasizing the historical significance. The value was estimated accordingly.
Insurance value on this, I'd insure it for a minimum of $35,000. A minimum
That's
of $35,000.
amazing.
The guest also presented a smoking table from her great-grandparents. This Rococo Revival parlor table, dating back to 1880, was originally used by men in Victorian times for smoking. The appraiser noted the table's symmetry as typical of Rococo Revival furniture. The table featured a turtleback-shaped marble top and beveled edges. Given the lower demand for Victorian furniture, the table was appraised at.
At auction today, I'd say $300 to $500. It's an easy sell.
Yeah. Well, it's found its space here.
The guest brought in a weather vane and a clock that had been in the family for years. These items were originally given to his grandparents as a retirement gift. The appraiser examined the items and explained that they formed a rare set. Both pieces were made by the Caldwell Company and were likely produced around 1880 to 1890. The clock and barometer were cast in heavy metal, each weighing approximately 5 to 7 pounds. The appraiser noted the high quality of the items, highlighting their different dials. The barometer had a brass dial with a silver wash and black hands, while the clock featured an enamel dial. It was recommended to polish and clean this set to increase its value. Given the craftsmanship and rarity, the set's value was estimated at.
Certainly reasonable to expect to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,500 for the pair.
Wow.
The guest presented a letter from her grandfather, written to her uncle on April 21st, 1865. It detailed the grandfather's experience at Ford Theater in Washington, D.C., where he'd expected to see President Abraham Lincoln. The appraiser emphasized the significance of the date, as it was just 1 week after Lincoln's assassination on April 14th, 1865.
The letter's written on April 21st, 1865, and your grandfather is at the theater on the Friday before, which was April 14th.
They were moved by the letter's first-hand account of the assassination and John Wilkes Booth's actions after the shooting. The letter also captured Booth's dramatic declaration, "The South's avenged," as he crossed the stage. The exceptional writing and detail enhanced the letter's historical value. The appraiser recommended careful preservation of the letter. Though the grandfather was not a well-known figure, the letter's rich content made it highly valuable. Considering its historical significance, the conservative auction estimate would be.
At auction, you want to play things safe, and you also want to get people to bid. And so 10 to 15 would be an awesome starting point.
The guest brought in a collection of 4 globes, each with unique origins and characteristics. The first globe was from the Newton Terrestrial Globe Company, a London-based firm.
This globe was very inexpensive, probably less than $60 or so.
The second globe was made by the Sukugawa Company in Japan for educational purposes, particularly for its use in schools. Despite being made in Japan, it was primarily exported to the United States. Due to its use in schools, it was in rough condition. The third globe, smaller in size, was made by Snellgrove, a stationery company in London, dated to 1867. It was likely once mounted on a stand, but now resides in a beautiful case for desktop display. The globe was less than 2 inches in diameter, making it quite rare. The final globe was an American-made piece by David C. Murdoch from West Boylston, Massachusetts. Murdoch's company, active from 1805 to 1880, produced affordable globes for schools. This globe was also small, less than 3 inches in diameter. The appraiser discussed the current market value of the globes. In total, the 4 globes were appraised at an auction value of.
Auction estimates would be $6,100 to $8,200.
Good, very nice, very good.
The guest brought in a painting she'd purchased from an art dealer for $1,400. The dealer had the painting in his private collection and acquired it from a garage in upstate New York. The painting was originally in an old, unattractive frame, which the guest removed. The appraiser noted that the painting was signed by Franz Kline, a renowned American abstract expressionist. The strong black lines outlining the decanter or glass were characteristic of Kline's style. The appraiser mentioned that the artist's work became more abstract later in his career. This particular piece, likely from the 1930s or 1940s, represents Kline's early work, before he gained fame in the late 1940s. The appraiser stressed the importance of obtaining further expert opinion to confirm its authenticity. If verified, the current market value would be.
At auction, as attributed to Franz Kline, I would put in at $5,000 to $7,000 as a conservative estimate. If we got some stronger expertise as a work by Franz Kline, and it could bring $15,000 to $20,000 or more.
Mr. Stinchcombe received Banksy's letter, allowing the cash-strapped boys to sell it. Mobile Lovers shows a couple embracing, but both are absorbed in their smartphones instead of each other. Mobile Lovers was first discovered in April 2014 in the city of Bristol, Banksy's hometown. Despite his global fame, Banksy's identity remains officially unknown.
Now, I tell you what, it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, after all, this is the Antiques Roadshow, and this was done on April the 12th this year, so it's a little bit difficult.
This piece highlights digital distraction, where people connect more with devices than those around them. The artwork on a wooden door contrasts the old-world charm of the bricks with its modern message. Banksy's signature stencil style contrasts sharply with the wall's subtle textures. The clash of old and new drew attention when the appraiser valued the item.
If you have had an offer of something like £400,000, my instinct would be, better safe than sorry, take it.
This watch, given to the great-grandfather in 1914, was passed down through the family. Manufactured by Patek Philippe of Geneva, this watch comes with a photocopy of the original warranty. Discover its dual-timing split chronograph.
Has the hour and minute hand and the second hand. It also has a split chronograph.
The back shows the day, month, moon phase, and the leap year adjusting perpetual calendar. Encased in gold, the watch features a classic design with Roman numerals. The hands are elegantly crafted with a delicate balance between form and function. The inner lid features Patek Philippe & Co., Genève, and awards from Paris 1889 and 1900. With its prestigious Parisian accolades, the appraiser valued the item.
This watch at auction, I suspect, would bring close to $250,000.
No.
Yes.
$250,000?
This is one incredible watch.
It was in the house that his parents had purchased on the Cape at the very end of World War II. This artifact showcases British infantry gear from the American Revolution. The box features a medal insignia with 43, indicating ownership by a British 43rd Light Infantry. The regiment infantry inscription confirms its regiment affiliation. Musket's original maintenance tool.
And it's not 43rd New York, and it's not 43rd Massachusetts. It's the
43rd
Light Infantry of the British soldiers from the Revolutionary War.
The box's design feature components for quick cartridge access in combat. This worn leather cartridge box reveals the struggles of British soldiers in key American conflict. Its history spoke volumes, and the appraiser valued the item.
This one on today's market would retail for between $20,000 and $25,000.
My Lord. That's amazing.
These paintings originally belonged to the guest's mother, who purchased them directly from Forrest Moses in 1967 and even managed to capture a photograph of him. Forrest Moses was an American abstract landscape painter, renowned for his graceful visual interpretations of landscapes. The first painting depicts a beautiful, detailed snowy scene. Moses' snowy scenes possess a particular charm, and while his summer landscapes are also captivating, his winter paintings have a uniquely magical quality. Titled Off to School, the painting depicts children and an American flag displayed at the school. The larger painting, identified as Short-Staffed, features a steam engine train with a village scene in the background. Both the paintings had a shiny finish to them, and we could see that in Moses' work. The buildings were consistently placed in the forefront. Both paintings also had Forrest Moses' signature on it. There was a label accompanying Moses' picture that displayed the title of the painting and the date it was created. The painting showed signs of discoloration. However, given the popularity of Moses' work, the appraiser estimated these drawings at.
If we were to have this in the gallery in New York, we probably would ask $5,000 for this one.
The guest brought in a collection of his father's memorabilia from World War II, specifically items related to his service as a PT boat captain. The squadron to which the guest's father belonged was the 1st Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron sent to the Mediterranean, a unit with a prolific combat history in the Mediterranean, Africa, Sicily, and Italy. One photograph showed the guest's father's PT boat displaying at least one victory flag. Another item was a plaque from Squadron 15, which was originally taken from the boat itself, making it highly valuable to collectors. The guest also brought a painting that depicted the boat in a unique camouflage pattern, known as dazzle camo. It was designed to confuse enemy observers about the boat's direction, about which way the boat was actually going. The collection also included a plaque detailing the father's service in the Mediterranean, but the centerpiece was a model 1941 Army jacket with a distinctive RON 15 squadron insignia. It was unusual and likely had a connection to the guest's father's fraternity, where a dragon symbol was used. The jacket, with its unique squadron insignia and a painted vignette of PT boats in action on the back, was valued at around.
To a collector at retail, this would be in the neighborhood of a $3,000 coat.
I didn't know it.
Including the photographs, plaques, and other items, the entire collection was estimated to be worth between.
It isn't very long before you're in the neighborhood of a $7,000 to $8,000 group.
Well, I'm glad we kept it together.
This special episode features Paul Asiksik discussing notable items on display at the Alaska Native Heritage Center.
I work here at the Alaska Native Heritage Center. I'm one of the managers, and I'm going to be going through some items that we have here on display.
Paul begins by showing us a pair of traditional snow goggles. This protects hunters' eyes from the harsh reflection of sunlight off the snow, preventing snow blindness.
I could get something called snow blindness, so basically this does the squinting for you. It prevents you from getting a migraine headache.
The next exhibit item is the traditional Inupiaq battle armor.
Comes from the Kotzebue region in the Bering Straits, and so this is actually 12 pieces of caribou antler.
Inupiaq warriors wore this armor beneath their jackets as a protective measure when hunting.
You would have it tied around your waist, and then the upper part, you could have shoulder straps up there that would help you to keep it in place.
Lastly, Paul showcases a king salmon boot made from sheefish hide.
Here is a king salmon boot, and it's also made out of sheefish, and we also have the sinew or the tendons.
These boots are quite small, indicating they were made for a young child. Typically, boots like this are worn in the summer, while a different type is worn in the winter.
That would allow you to adapt to a colder climate, but in the summertime, this would probably be common back in the old days.
For this special episode, we're joined by Aaron Leggett, who helps us understand the term Eskimo.
My name is Aaron Leggett. I'm currently the president of the Native Village of Eklutna. The Native Village of Eklutna is the only federally and now state-recognized tribe.
Historically, the term Eskimo described the people living in the Arctic coastal areas of Alaska, Canada, and Greenland.
The St. Lawrence Island or Siberian Yupik, the Inupiaq, and the Inuit of Canada, Labrador, and Greenland. So it's a very large geographic term.
This term is geographically broad and doesn't accurately represent a specific Alaska Native culture. It has become somewhat derogatory over the last 40 to 50 years. Two theories exist about the name's translation, both derived from the French through Cree, with one suggesting eaters of raw meat and the other referencing snowshoe webbing.
The Cree language, and it's either eaters of raw meat or having to do with the webbing of snowshoes.
Robert Flaherty's work laid the groundwork for many stereotypes about life in the North.
Robert Flaherty really kind of set the stage for a lot of these stereotypes of what the northern people's life looked like.
These stereotypes create a misleading image, similar to the misconceptions people have about Native Americans in the lower 48 states.
I think there's just this, mostly through Hollywood and Madison Avenue, you know, the caricature of the happy-go-lucky Eskimo with this little...
Some elderly Alaska Native individuals in certain communities are comfortable with the term.
Now, certainly there are older Alaska Native people in some communities that are completely fine with that term.
Aaron says the term is highly objectionable in Canada and also generally disfavored in Alaska.
We're moving away from these really broad geographic terms that were applied onto the people. They weren't actually words that were used by the people themselves in their own languages.
Today on the show, we have a pair of gloves that once belonged to General Tom Thumb. Tom Thumb was an American performer with dwarfism who gained significant fame. This pair of gloves was gifted by Thumb to his physician in London in 1886 during his time with circus pioneer P.T. Barnum. Barnum, an American showman, businessman, and politician, is remembered for promoting celebrated hoaxes and founding the Ringling Bros Circus. The gloves were passed down through the physician's family, and 6 generations later, they now reside in our guest's home. Another item on display is a photograph of General Thumb, taken on his wedding day. Despite their age, these gloves have remained in remarkably good condition. Considering General Thumb's legacy and the gloves' current condition, they are estimated to be worth.
For auction purposes, you'd probably see between a $1,200 to $1,800 estimate.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a really cool item and preserved well. I would keep it just as you have, nice and...
Julia Child's legacy continues to thrive through her iconic TV shows and the personal cookware she donated to inspire future chefs. Her mother, who works in the food industry, has attended numerous auctions throughout her professional career. At one of these auctions, Julia Child played a significant role, serving as a chairwoman or another important position. During this particular auction, Julia Child made a generous donation of 5 pans to help encourage the development of careers in the culinary arts. It's thrilling to imagine that these pans were not only used by Julia herself, but also featured on her television show. The impact that Julia Child had on cooking in the United States and on popular culture is truly immense, and it can't be overstated. When Mastering the Art of French Cooking, published in 1961, became a sensation, even though one publisher rejected it, thinking it was too much like an encyclopedia. Julia Child also made significant contributions to various magazines, including writing a regular column for the Boston Globe. In 1962, she achieved something amazing by cooking an omelette on public television, an act that resonated deeply with a wide audience. She wasn't the first TV cook. Julia, though, had an ability to connect with viewers, making cooking enjoyable for everyone. Julia once expressed that her first French meal was a profound experience, one that opened up her soul and spirit. The pans she used are notably heavy and big, making it even more remarkable to think about her carrying them around. Her mother paid about $3,300 for these pans at the auction, which was considered a fair price at the time.
This set of wonderful cookware for about $5,000 and that would be a retail price.
Wow.
So
the cookware is priced with its retail value estimated around $5,000 and an auction value likely still close to $3,500.
I think an auction value today would be about in the same range as what your mother paid, right around $3,500.
That's great.
Wonderful to see it.
Thank you.
Jewelry is more than adornment, it's a piece of history, echoing stories of bravery and legacy. A guest recounted a remarkable family story about their grandfather, a US Army colonel who was assigned to Stockholm during the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. While escaping from St. Petersburg under a hail of bullets, he managed to get his family safely to Stockholm. Once there, he learned of members of the Russian court trying to escape the turmoil and, determined to help, connected with the Empress's confidence. In gratitude for his assistance, these women offered him hidden jewels, but the colonel insisted on paying a price higher than their worth. A receipt dated October 8, 1920, signed by a baroness, documented this transaction.
And the letter says that the Baroness has received 3,700 kroner.
These jewels, dating back to 1860 to 1880, are pre-revolutionary Russian court pieces with silver settings, diamonds, and garnets. The garnets, backed by polished yellow gold, displayed a rich ruby-like color, enhancing the overall value and historical significance of the collection. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
I would give it an insurance value of $18,000 to $24,000.
Okay.
This guest brought a beaded bird figure to the show, which was gifted to him by his boss while he was working at a design firm.
I worked for a design firm, and my boss knew that I liked this bird, so he arranged somehow to get it, and he bought it for me.
The piece was made in 1960 by Birger Kaipiainen. Kaipiainen was a Finnish designer and ceramist, often described as a romantic who favored fantasy.
He worked for a company in Finland and Helsinki that was the Arabia Company. He was considered one of their top artists.
The piece is signed on the base by the designer, further aiding in its authentication. Each bead incorporated in this bird figure is handmade and set within a framework. In addition to beads, Kaipiainen often adorned his bird sculptures with other decorative elements, such as small ceramic flowers, leaves, and other organic motifs, as seen in this piece. The guest has done an excellent job of preserving this beaded figure over the years. At auction, in its present condition, this intricately designed beaded figure would be valued at.
We would probably put an estimate of maybe 10 to 15,000.
He's become kind of a friend. It sounds funny, but I'm really attached to the bird.
You need an eye for history to appreciate the significance of Amazing Fantasy 15. A guest brought in an extraordinary item, the Amazing Fantasy 15 comic book that marked Spider-Man's first appearance. They shared that they purchased the comic in 1962, at the age of 12, during family trips for groceries and hot dogs. Although they were initially more interested in Disney characters, Spider-Man's unique origin story of gaining superpowers from a radioactive spider captivated them. The Appraiser, visibly moved, emphasized the comic's pivotal role in Marvel's history. Released in August 1962, Amazing Fantasy 15 was a landmark in the Silver Age of Marvel Comics.
We experienced a big boom through the COVID pandemic where prices really went through the roof. Now we've had some market readjustment,
marking the shift from science fiction to superheroes and introducing Spider-Man. It was crucial in establishing Spider-Man's standalone series, despite its condition being rated 1.8 to 2.0 with noticeable wear and damage. Its historical importance remains undeniable. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
at auction today, this would be $18,000 to $22,000.
Get out. Oh, do I have a buyer in the house?
Awards often carry rich histories and personal significance. The guest shared a personal and touching story about meeting Maya Angelou 8 years ago, which sparked a deep admiration for her. This connection deepened when Angelou was found to live in North Carolina and work at Wake Forest University. At an auction of Angelou's estate in Kernersville, North Carolina, the guest found a 10-karat gold Spingarn Award.
It's 10-karat gold, and I looked at who won this award, and it's a prominent award given by the NAACP to African Americans.
The award, given to figures like Oprah Winfrey and Martin Luther King Jr., intrigued the guest for its historical and personal significance. The guest's mother had attended Spingarn High School, and the award's first recipient was their fraternity's founder, Dr. Ernst Everett Just. Although they had intended to make the auction, a family emergency forced them to rely on a friend to make the purchase. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
then you probably want to insure it.
Yep.
Something I would probably want you to insure it for around $50,000 to protect yourself.
Wow.
A picture of a rare portfolio featuring Olympic posters by some of the most celebrated artists of the 20th century. 15 artists were commissioned to create posters for the 1984 Olympics. Each artist made 750 posters, all hand-signed. The rest of the posters were all mass-produced afterwards. The portfolio includes a presentation box with all 15 posters. Each poster is hand-signed and part of a 750-run edition. The artists are prominent contemporary figures like Balderesi, Francis, Hockney, Diebenkorn, Lichtenstein, and Rauschenberg. This portfolio was obtained by a Northern Virginia coin shop owner in exchange for coins valued at $1,000.
I had a few coins that he wanted.
And how much did you pay for them?
$1,000.
The collection was the first Olympic series with works from multiple artists, unlike the usual single designer approach. Research on the full set was difficult. Individual posters are easier to find. A 2015 auction record showed a full set sold for $4,500.
For $4,500.
Oh, wow.
However, the individual posters are worth more than the entire portfolio. Selling the 6 valuable posters separately could be $5,000 to $7,000, and the other 9 could be $2,000 to $3,000.
They would sell alone for between $5,000 and $7,000.
Wow.
Today on the show, we've showcased a Korean lacquer table.
The symbolism is indicating marital harmony. Not only is this talking about marital harmony, it's looking back into the very foundations of Korean society.
The table was acquired by our guest at an estate sale, organized by the Bob Atwood Foundation.
When the last Atwood died, the Atwood Foundation was selling the house, and they had an invitation-only estate sale, and my mom got an invitation, so she dragged me along.
Bob Atwood was an American journalist who served as the longtime editor and publisher of the Anchorage Times. The decoration on this table is striking, featuring a dragon, a phoenix, and at the center, the Pearl of Wisdom. The surface of the table is a dark caramel color, infused with tiny flecks of gold. Bordering the table is a rope twist brass trim surrounding all the intricate elements. Additionally, we can see polished fragments of broken sea turtle shells embedded in the table's surface. Interestingly, the term lacquer, as it refers to this piece, describes the dark-colored background on which the artwork is applied. The workmanship on this table is of very high quality, and given its provenance, it would be worth.
I'd value this at $3,000.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh, I might have to stop putting my feet on it, but thank you.
Sometimes family heirlooms have more history than we realize. This Niloak humidor, owned by the guest's family since the 1940s, is one such piece.
The name Niloak is actually kaolin, spelled backwards.
Niloak pottery, produced in Benton, Arkansas, were known for their unique swirl of different clays.
Kaolin is one of the most important ingredients when you're making pottery.
This humidor's design features no glaze. Additionally, this particular line of pottery is called missionware and was hand-thrown starting around 1910. It is a fine example of Niloak's craftsmanship with its rich mix of blues, reds, and ivory. Presently, this small piece is a fine example of Arkansas history and craftsmanship. Although values for pieces like this have declined over the decades, this humidor is still worth.
For about $400 to $600.
Sometimes a small purchase can turn into a significant find. This 1917 baseball calendar featuring the Boston Red Sox was bought online over a decade ago by the guest.
10 years ago, maybe longer than that. And they said it was real. I didn't think it was really real.
The calendar was a promotional piece for Bunker Hill Breweries, commemorating the Red Sox 1915 and 1916 championships.
We have several great players of the era. Right here in the middle is Harry Hooper.
What makes this calendar particularly special is its inclusion of Babe Ruth, then a 22-year-old pitcher. 1917 was Ruth's last great year as a pitcher before transitioning to the outfield.
1917 was a great year for him. He won 24 games as a pitcher, but he also hit .325, which was, I think, fourth best in the American League that year.
Despite some condition issues, the calendar's rarity and historical importance make it highly valuable. Additionally, this calendar was once tucked away in a barn. For a calendar that was once tucked away, it is now a treasured piece of baseball history and is well worth between.
We'd estimate this at $20,000 to $30,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Family pieces often carry stories from across generations and regions. This chest, originally from the guest's East Coast family, dates back to the Federal period, around 1795 to 1808. Though the guest believed it might have come from Pennsylvania, it was likely made in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yeah, Colorado Springs area.
Okay, so do you think this was one of the original pieces from the East Coast, or?
Yeah, my aunt thought it might have come from the side of the family in Pennsylvania.
The chest features mahogany veneer, flame birch panels, and white pine secondary woods, materials abundant in New England.
Case sides and the case top, again, made out of birch. Birch grows in abundance. White pine grows in abundance in New Hampshire. Mahogany was imported from the Caribbean often.
Its design with divided drawers and a drop pendant apron is characteristic of Portsmouth craftsmanship. Despite some condition issues and replaced brasses, it remains a valuable piece of neoclassical furniture.
The brasses have been replaced. Okay. So you were mentioning some of the condition issues.
The chest also has a dry old surface with great color that adds to its appeal. At auction, reflecting its historical significance, this piece could fetch between
any difficulty of $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
We have 3 prints here, each holding more than what meets the eye. These prints are clearly woodcuts, sparking curiosity about their origin. The guest received the woodcuts as a gift from the artist himself.
Husband-to-be was a reporter for the newspaper.
The woodcuts were made in the 1950s, one of the earliest works of the artist, Sol LeWitt, who was an American artist linked to various movements, including conceptual art and minimalism. He came to fame in the late 1960s with his wall paintings. These prints showcased LeWitt's early experimentation with abstract forms, which later defined much of his career. The woodcuts stand out for their bold, clean lines and minimalist style, reflecting the mid-century modern aesthetic. Our gaze shifts below the prints, where we have 2 items a catalogue, and a letter from Lewitt himself, wanting to purchase the items serving as a provenance.
Each of them for $200?
$200 each, yeah.
And you decided to hold on to them at that point?
I did.
Despite their age, these prints are still in excellent condition, considering the rarity of these early woodcuts and Lewitt's significant influence on the development of conceptual and minimalist art at auction would accrue.
Replacement values on them somewhere between about $7,000 and $10,000 each on these.
Oh, okay.
So upwards of $30,000 for the three.
All right.
His great-grandfather's overseas buying trips led to the discovery of a rare salesman sample chair. His great-grandfather was a gimbals buyer who traveled overseas to find products for their catalogue. This item was brought back by his great-grandfather in 1936 or 37, but Gimbals decided not to sell it, so he took it home for his grandmother. His great-grandfather acquired this sample in 1936 to 37, rejected by Gimbals. His father would bring this back and the people at Gimbals would look at it and be astonished. The sample showed Gimbals the chair's proportions and moving parts, helping to decide if it was right for their catalogue. This piece, designed in the mid-1930s, embodies the machine age aesthetic, exuding a timeless modernity. Chairs 20 years prior were fat and clunky, with carvings, a stark contrast to this sleek design. Machine age design had a brief heyday, 1930 to 1940. Americans were slow to adopt, only catching on by around 1930, and by the start of World War II, 1940 to 1941, this design had vanished, its brief moment in the spotlight eclipsed by wartime priorities. Real American moderns emerged post-World War II, making this design's run brief. It appeals to multiple collector groups, a rare convergence of interests. Salesman sample collectors covet it, drawn to its rarity and purchase. Chair collectors prize it, a coveted find for modern design enthusiasts. He wonders what it might be worth, given its unique history and design. He believes it will sell for around $60, roughly its original price point. At the auction, he estimates the chair will fetch between $2,000 and $2,500, roughly its current market value. The piece being appraised is a stunning vase that was heavily exposed to smoke and grease due to the owner's mother chain smoking. The grime accumulated over decades from cooking and smoking has settled on the surface.
Furthermore, because of the modeling or carving that Henrietta Bailey did to get this effect on the vase, she creates all these little nooks and crannies for the dirt to settle.
The bottom of the vase remains relatively clean, but the top has significant buildup of dirt and grime. After cleaning, the vase reveals a beautiful glow, with vibrant yellow flowers and clearer grooves in the poppy pods. The significant improvement in appearance suggests it was quite dirty.
That was probably 50 years of accumulated grime.
Right.
And that's all that came off of it. So it wasn't that dirty, but it doesn't take much. So what I recommend is you don't bother cleaning it a whole lot if you hang on to this.
It's recommended to clean the vase every 5 years by soaking it in a sink with towels to avoid damage. Despite its history, the vase shines beautifully and has a captivating look once cleaned. The appraiser confirms that while the piece was dirty,
Buff it dry and then just really enjoy it.
Okay, thank you.
A smoking piece of nukem right there. You really do. That's a sweet pot.
on display today is one of the Enigma machines used by the Germans during World War II. At first glance, this machine resembles a typewriter, but it is far more complex. It features numerous keys, and when these keys are pressed, a message is sent through the Morse code system, which is then sent to the receiving end. Inside this machine, there are 158 million possible combinations, making its codes nearly unbreakable. Another item on display is a book containing hundreds of decrypted messages received at Bletchley Park.
So that if you look through all the various messages...
So this is what it really meant?
This is what it really meant, and this of course is written in German. At the height of the war, Bletchley was decoding in excess of 6,000 of these messages every single day.
A notable piece of information exhibited is a decrypted message from the double agent, Garbo, also known as
front of Hitler, and it was the message that persuaded Hitler that there was a further attack to come at D-Day, and he kept his forces in Calais as opposed to actually sending them down to Normandy to repulse the D-Day attacks.
So this was a double agent. This was a German in Britain who'd been turned by the British security services.
Juan Pujol Garcia. Garcia was a Spanish guy who acted as a double agent loyal to Great Britain against Nazi Germany during World War II. This Enigma machine played a significant role in the course of the Second World War. We can only wonder how much this piece would fetch at auction. On the show, we will be remembering the St. Paul's Watchman, our guest's grandfather, Alfred Henry Shah, who volunteered to protect St. Paul's Cathedral at all costs during the Blitz in the 1940s.
I had joined St. Paul's Cathedral as a maintenance man in 1935, but coming up to the beginning of 1939, the Dean and Chapter said that with war imminent, they had to try and protect the St. Paul's as best as possible.
The term Blitz is derived from the German word Blitzkrieg, meaning lightning war, which describes the rapid, overwhelming attacks used by Germany during the Second World War. During the Blitz, the guest's grandfather was part of a team of 280 people, whose task was to guard against incendiary bombs and other threats.
They were all volunteers, weren't they?
They were indeed.
All civilians.
Yes.
One item on display is a photograph of the guest's ancestor standing on the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral. Another item featured is an incendiary bomb that still has its fuse intact. These types of bombs were dropped in clusters during the Second World War, causing significant damage. Also showcased on the show is a newspaper with a photograph of St. Paul's Cathedral, taken the morning after it had survived a series of attacks. The events at St. Paul's Cathedral embody the resilient spirit of Londoners determined to survive the Blitz. On today's segment of the show, various items are exhibited by different guests. Can you guess what these items are worth? First, we have a collection of archaeological finds from Tetbury. Medieval discoveries in Tetbury are particularly significant, revealing early structures, tools, and everyday objects that provide insight into the lives of its inhabitants during the Middle Ages. Can you speculate on how much these items might be worth? Another item showcased on the show is a Weems floral sponge bowl and strainer. This bowl and strainer are decorated with hand-painted flowers in bold, naturalistic styles, reflecting the charm of Scottish pottery. In an auction setting, how much do you think this piece could fetch? Also exhibited is an Art Nouveau silver dressing table tray. The tray features intricate motifs inspired by nature, all rendered with a sense of movement and elegance. Another item on display is a Christian Dior costume jewelry bracelet. This bracelet incorporates high-quality materials such as glass beads, foul pearls, rhinestones, and silver plating. Given the superior quality of the materials used to create this piece, we can only wonder how much it might be worth. Show today a collection of antique objects presented by various guests. The first item displayed is a late Victorian table made of Spanish Cuban mahogany.
It's just been sitting there in the dining room doing nothing.
Or you could chill your champagne in it.
That's a very good thought.
You never thought of that, did you?
I had not thought of that, no.
At the time this piece was crafted, it would have been owned by a wealthy family. If this piece of vintage furniture were to come up for auction, how much do you think it would be worth? Also, we have on the show a bronze female figure mounted on a marble base. Judging by the mark near its base, we can tell that this piece was created by Antoine Fournier. Fournier was a French artist and engraver, known for his detailed and intricate work. One is left to wonder what this piece by Fournier might be worth. Also showcased is a collection of Old English spoons dating from the 17th to 18th century. These spoons are characterized by their simple yet refined style, featuring a tapering stem with a distinctive rat tail reinforcement on the back of the bowl. Can you speculate on the price these Old English spoons might command at auction? Another item brought onto the show is an elaborate vintage tea stand. It features a top that opens up to a compartment housing cups, sugar, and other items. If this piece of furniture were to come up at auction, can you estimate how much it would be worth? This guest hopes to sell a collection of posters at auction, having had these pieces in his possession for many years.
I've had them a long time. They came in a book collection that I bought, and they've been in the drawer. Very nice.
He has done an exceptional job preserving these posters since he acquired them. The posters, titled Careless Talk Costs Lives, were created as a campaign by the British government during World War I to remind people of the importance of maintaining secrecy to prevent espionage. Bidding for this set of 8 Careless Talk Costs Live posters begins at
400
straight in, and we've sold
500.
Several telephone bidders have increased their offers for this collection. We can see the excitement on the guest's face as the value of his posters steadily rises. Additional bidders join via the internet, further driving up the price. Ultimately, the price of this historically significant poster collection was set at
£800.
Wow, fantastic. Fantastic.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Doesn't get much better than that, does it? It really
Wonderful.
doesn't. Thank you so much for bringing those in.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
This 18th century American coined silver tankard bears the hallmark of Baltimore silversmith George Aiken. Coin silver was commonly used in the United States during the late 19th century. However, its production was limited, making surviving pieces particularly valuable.
Most silver at that time was imported from England because that's where all silver craftsmen were at the late 18th century for the most part.
George Aiken began his silversmithing career in 1787. This piece, likely created around 1790, features his clear mark on the bottom, attesting to its origin. Its significance is further amplified by its inscriptions of the prominent Griffith and Lee families. These families were well known in Baltimore, with ties extending into Maryland and Virginia. However, current estimates suggest it could fetch between.
This came up to auction today. It would conservatively bring $12,000 to $15,000, maybe as much as $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow.
So.
A striking college artwork was purchased by the guest. The piece includes a classical pillar and an angel juxtaposed with a working-class woman, blending traditional and modern elements. Created by the increasingly renowned Titus Kaphar, this piece captivates with its layered narrative. Titus Kaphar, a Yale MFA graduate, blends African-American experiences with classical art forms. Years ago, the artwork was purchased without much prior knowledge of the artist, who was then gaining recognition. At that time, the piece was acquired for around $1,000, reflecting a fraction of its current worth. As Kaphar's market value has skyrocketed, a similar collage sold for $27,000 in December 2020.
One of his most famous works is a scene of the Declaration of Independence.
Given Kaphar's rising prominence and the piece's rich cultural and art historical significance, its value is around.
I think that the value for your work by Titus Kaphar is about $30,000. That would be a good insurance value.
Oh.
Because you would need to, you'd have to